family on board an Alaska cruise missed the ship due to a ship shore excursion, and the cruise line charged them $9,000. JJ Cruise. Hey everybody, what's up? My name is Jordan and this is JJ Cruise. This is single-handedly the wildest story I have ever heard. I've been on more than 80 cruises. You've seen that we've brought a lot of stories and a lot of things that have happened to us on cruises here on the channel, but this tops them all. I want to start by saying my thoughts, my heart goes out to this family because this is single-handedly the worst story I have ever heard of happening to a family while on a cruise. Before we get into it, I do want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. We leave today for Utopia of the Seas. So if you love cruising as much as Jared and I do, please hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the thumbs up. We're going to get right into this story. So this story happened to a family of 9 people on board a Norwegian cruise line ship that were all headed on an Alaskan cruise. They were going on a 7-night Alaskan cruise to some of the most popular Alaskan ports. But where this story actually occurred was in Ketchikan. If you don't know what Ketchikan is, it's one of the most popular Alaskan stops on an Alaskan cruise. It is a cute, cute little seaside town with a lot of really fun things to do. Thankfully for the family, this was the last stop in Alaska on the cruise before the cruise then went to Victoria, Canada, and then headed back to Seattle, Washington. The family booked a shore excursion that took them on a bus from the ship downtown Ketchikan to the Lumberjack Show. Now, the Lumberjack Show is a wildly popular show that's been happening for years in Ketchikan. If you're ever there, it's definitely a fun, very kitschy show with some really strong lumberjacks. We saw it a couple of years ago, and it's definitely one that I would recommend checking out. But upon leaving the Lumberjack Show, they said it was just kind of chaos and congestion right outside that theater area, which, again, I've been there. I know that that can get very congested with a lot of people trying to get back to the ship quickly. There was a bus that was there to take everyone back to the Norwegian ship, and they were in line, and when they got up to the front of the line, they were told that the bus was full and they would have to wait for the next bus. The family said, okay, we will wait. There was 9 of them, so they wanted to probably all go together. The bus goes back to the ship, and it never returns. And this is where the nightmare begins, and honestly, it only gets worse over time for this family. The bus never returns. The family is kind of stuck and stranded there because the ship is not within walking distance, and they're realizing, hey, the ship is going to leave really soon, and we're on a ship excursion, so they should wait for us, but we need to get back. They call the port authority, and the port authority sends a small van for the 9 family members. They pick them up, they head back to the port, and the ship is pulling away with all of their luggage, with their medication. And normally in this situation, the cruise line will take everyone's passports off the ship so that the family needs the passports, no matter where they're going next. And they could have just headed down to Victoria to meet the ship there, its next port of call. But the cruise line failed to give one of the passports for the 9 family members, meaning they could not go to Victoria, and they had to get from Alaska back to the US because they were missing a passport within their party. Now, the family said what happens next is just absolute chaos for them. They're attempting to get back, but they deal with missed flights. They deal with having to sleep overnight in the airport, and then, of course, incurring all of these costs and charges that it takes for them to get from point A to get to the cruise port in Seattle and then get eventually back home to Oklahoma where they're from. But it just gets worse because the following morning, their credit card was charged nearly $9,000 because the cruise line charges a fee when you miss the ship. When I heard this, my mind was just completely blown because it was someone else's fault that this family missed the ship, but the cruise line still charged their credit card almost $9,000 because they actually missed the ship. All along the way, from what I understand, the family is allegedly calling Norwegian Cruise Line, trying to get their money back or trying to figure out what happened, and Norwegian just kind of keeps giving them the runaround. They keep saying that they're just looking into this, they're going to get back to them, it's under investigation, and Norwegian doesn't actually do a thing until their local news outlet reaches out to them. And Norwegian actually just responded to this last night. The family is at home. The family is recovering because they got COVID-19 as they were coming back from this trip. And finally, last night at 8 p.m., Norwegian responds. I will say Norwegian is now going above and beyond, that the media is kind of shining a light on this, and there was an investigation done by a local news outlet. But the fact that they didn't act sooner is such a bad look for the cruise line. Norwegian is basically refunding the family that $9,000 fee that they were charged. They are asking them to give them receipts for any costs that were incurred, including accommodations, food, flights, and they're going to be refunding all of that to the family upon getting receipts for that. They are prorating a refund for the missed last 2 days of the cruise, so they're going to be getting a refund for that. And then they're giving everyone in the family a 20% future cruise credit in the form of consolation, I guess, because of the problems and the issues. Personally, if this happened to me, I would never sail Norwegian Cruise Line again, but it's also a terrible look on the cruise industry, and I may never go on a cruise again, because that entire situation was a family reunion to Alaska. It should have been one of the most magical, amazing vacations of this family's life. Alaska cruises also are not cheap. So I'm sure they paid a pretty penny to get on board this ship for this incredible cruise. Now, thankfully for the family, they did get to see most of Alaska, and they did get to every port. But this turns into a nightmare real quick. The family said that there was medication on board that they desperately needed, and they had to go out without for several days. Now, this could have turned into a deadly situation, especially since the cruise line did not bring the medications that they needed off the ship and give those to the family or the port authority as they were waiting for the family to arrive back to the port. Norwegian does blame the tour operator. They said that there was a misstep with the tour operator, and it was the tour operator's fault that they didn't come back and get the family. But ultimately, Norwegian, this was an excursion that was booked through you, and it is kind of your responsibility to ensure that you've got responsible and good tour operators running your tours to make sure that everyone is getting back to the ship. My heart, again, goes out to this family. I hope if you cruise again, this never happens to you. I have never heard of this happening, so this is such a rare occurrence. But if you're going to Alaska and you're going to Ketchikan and you're doing the lumberjack excursion, just be hyper aware that this situation happened. I would assume this tour operator company either got let go, had to shut down, or specifically the person that was responsible for that bus situation is no longer employed there. But holy smokes, what a nightmare of a situation. Let me know what you think in the comments below of this. Listen, we get a lot of heat for talking about stories here on the internet, especially when we bring up Norwegian. I think that we bring out the Norwegian super fans and they get really angry. But I'm not saying anything negative here. I'm just straight up telling the facts of exactly what happened, and this is not a good look for Norwegian Cruise Line. Thank you so much for watching today. Let me know in the comments what you think of this story. Again, my heart goes out to that family. If you happen to see this, Jared and I are sending you hugs because it is just an absolutely inexcusable situation that happened to you. That was it. My name is Jordan. Until next time, see ya.